I think that to get, I mean, I've worked on loads of football games. I worked on a football game, a Real Madrid football game last year. I did some work with the guys who do Football Superstars 2 years ago. I did Sensible Soccer 2006. I've done all the time. I'm working on football games, and I think that no one's really worked out how to get good animation. I mean, we've tried and failed twice with 3D, so I'm not pointing the finger at people, but it's very hard to get the animation people want with the immediacy of feel and control that Sensible Soccer had. To me, you can't get the feel of the game to be as good as Sensible Soccer was. I don't think it's because he ran on the frame. The other thing was, you got to remember, we were running at 60 frames a second. I mean, when FIFA came out, it was running at 15 frames a second. That's what pissed us off more than anything. That people were saying it was great and it was fucking slow and technically useless, and that goes back in a way to Americanized programming, is what I would say. So if you look at Shoot 'em Up Construction Kit as a good example, that ran in one load. You just loaded it and it played and it ran. When they brought those brick disk drives out on the Commodore 64, Chris was made for the American version, the NTSC version, to make the light come on off from the brick to pretend it was loading, to satisfy the American market, which is total bloody nonsense, yeah? And that taught me a big lesson about how that works. If you look generally, the inefficiency of programming, the lazy programming, the imperfect programming. I don't know if Archer, for example,
I could say something about that. There's a lot of good examples of Commodore 64 games where the European version is a single load or a couple of loads, and the American version will load a title screen, then it will load a get ready screen, then it will load the actual main part of the game. And it seemed to be a different philosophy in the way they approached the game.
It's just not having high enough standards, in my opinion. The programmers getting away with less, patting themselves on the back when they've done something basic instead of really pushing themselves. At the time we were at the end of our C64 run, particularly, Chris was like a genius on that machine. He was a master of his medium, and I don't really see that philosophy on any computer happening at the moment. Maybe some DS programmers are getting there now because they've had enough years, but you need to have done about 4 or 5 or 6 games on one machine to be anywhere near mastering it, and that's kind of always overlooked as we jump technology forward. We're never really getting to the bottom of the current technology and really getting brilliant performance out of the machines at all.
Mike, have a question?
I've got 3 questions.
Greedy.
Yeah. First one is exactly how dull was it typing all those player names into sensible words? The second question.
Okay, I can answer that one. Right, okay. We had a guy called Mike Hammond who writes a book called the European Football Yearbook. He actually works for the UEFA at the moment. He's another sensible guy I'm still in touch with. I went to see a match with him recently. And Mike and another guy in Belgium called Serge Van Hoof. Serge did all the non-European football, all the African and South American and stuff, Asian stuff. Mike did all the European football because it was his speciality, and he typed in every single bloody word. We just gave him the format and the tablet, and it worked. It was 2 guys doing a part-time job. That was all the Sensible Soccer data, and it's impressive because there's, in the last version of SWOS, there were 27,000 players, and they were typed in all of them by those 2 guys. Second question?
The second one was, if you were to do another whiskey thing, what sort of game do you think you might do? Because you've done 2 different.
That's really good. Okay, so I love Whizball and WizKid because they are the best products which came out, which encapsulate the energy of sensible software. If you look at WizKid, to me that encapsulates the energy of the company better than any other game. We always did 2 types of game. We did our safe games and we did our left field games. So if you look at Cannon Fodder, you look at Sensible Soccer, you look at Shoot 'em Up Construction Kit or Microprose Soccer, they're very safe games. They're not. They have some creativity in them, but they're not to the extent that WizKid or Whizball did, or Megalomania, in fact, which was a bit left field as well. So it would have to be from that kind of era. I think maybe some kind of, I don't know, way of developing WizKid, developing your green pea-headed creature. And I love this little picture here of him as well.
they're different than here.
I think it'd be nice to develop him a little bit, have him running around and doing stuff, but going on a bit more of an adventure and, you know, exploring. I've not thought about it, but it would have to be. It would have to have that idea of loads of mini games thrown in that you discover.
I think the question everyone in here would want to ask is, would it be 2D or 3D?
Well, it depends on
2D.
what machine it was on. is the answer. You know, unfortunately, my mentality has depleted into not looking seriously at anything which isn't going to be financially viable from start to finish on a machine, and it's not just an idea. And in a way, personally, I'm finding it a little bit stifling right now because when we started Sensible, we just did what the hell we wanted and we could sell it. Now we know you can't do that, and so for me, it's a bit of a sticking point. I don't know what to do. You know, I'm used to making games which already in this industry we do so much pitching. I mean, I've been working for a company called Nikotova in Kiev for a lot for the last 2 years. You know, I've done 16 pitches to get 2 published games, 3 published games. No, okay, that's a lie. Done 20 pitches to get 3 published games. So that's 17 of the game designs I've done. It'll be a waste of fucking time. You know, and from my point of view, I'm a bit too good to have my work wasted. So there's always a degree, like you got Touchstone, you got Sex, Drugs and Rock'n'Roll. There are Have a Nice Day. You do have titles which don't see the light of day, but the percentage, I did a calculation. It used to be 10% of our games were canned off 15, and now it's something like only 20% actually come out. So the whole thing's twisted around. So the answer is whatever format someone will back it on. What's the last question?
The last one was just, I was interested to know what sort of, how many games you sort of C64, Amiga and era, not your games, that you admire?
Okay, well, obviously there were quite a few at the time. I would say the Amiga era particularly was the most exciting era where people were. It was the perfect machine. It was a free platform. The graphics were capable of a lot more than the predecessors. There was huge gameplay innovation on it. I loved it even when games like Defender of the Crown came out, even though they were a bit simplistic. They were new, you know. What did I really admire and really like? I loved what's it called? Stunt Car Racer. I really loved that game. I loved the Pinball Dreams games when they came out. You know, just the music of them. And the Commodore 64. I like Master of the Lamps. It's my favourite game. It's fantastic. So.
Any more questions?
The background.
Just wondering about Cannon Fodder. I was a big fan at the time. But whose idea was it to link it with the Poppies? And what is your reaction to the reaction the game generated at the time in the Daily Mail, etc.?
Well, I mean, to even get the game in the day, it was a Daily Star who went on about it. It was brilliant. To actually, even to know we bloody existed at all, it was a breakthrough, to be honest, because we got very, very little recognition from outside the games press at all, basically. So I didn't mind that reaction. I think the ignorance annoyed me a little bit. In terms of the idea, the idea came from, well, I guess from me and Stu, who's the artist. You know, just in terms of symbolising, it was about people. It was about war, and it was about people dying in war, and the poppy, to us as English people, perfectly symbolises that. We see it every year. It's the obvious symbol. We thought of the poppy as being like, I don't know, a Christmas tree or something, you know, that symbolises Christmas. Unfortunately, the Royal Legion told us that they owned the copyright to the poppy and we couldn't use it unless we gave them 500 quid. And I've never ever bought a fucking poppy in my life since. I already paid for 500. No, 250. That's what we had to split the cost in half.
How did the idea of remaking Sensible Soccer for modern systems come about?
Well, the idea comes from Codemasters. I mean, Codemasters bought Sensible in '99. They should have done a Game Boy version very quickly, and it was never done. They should have done a DS version, which has never been done. They did commission the mobile versions, which I did with Mike Montgomery and John Phillips from Tower, which from the bitmaps, which were pretty good versions actually. I'm happy with those. I'm happy with the Game Boy version of Cannon Fodder. But all the decisions as to which formats games come out on are all with Codemasters. I have no power over them. If they do them, they sometimes ask me to get involved in development, and I will have input. For example, the XBLA version of Sensi Soccer, I did nothing. I mean, I just went and